Tonight, we're looking at and discussing the very first episode of the new Disney Plus, Loki. Let's go around and kind of get everybody's first initial take. Chip, what'd you think of it?
I thought it was really good. Actually, I thought it was the best MCU TV show I've seen yet on Disney Plus. Not as good as the Netflix shows.
Nice clarification. I happen to agree. Sarah?
So I loved it, but I had some issues with the continuity of it. And here's where I'll kick it. Do you want me to go for it right now? Okay.
Go for it.
So in the beginning of the whole episode, after they get him into the time agency and they've got the little computer clock, which I can't remember what her name is, she's explaining the worlds to him, right?
Miss Minutes?
Miss Minutes. And she's explaining the whole shebang, like why he's there, what it is, all that stuff. And then they show the three whatever they are, okay? And one looks like the pet He-Man had in He-Man, with the little nose like that. One looks like that, okay? And then the one looks like a person, and then the other one looks kind of just like a normal person with a big nose. And yeah, one time they did show their hands and they had little claws. But Loki later goes, this is spoilers, guys. Like, this whole thing is spoilers. If you haven't seen the episode, I'm ruining it for you with this podcast. But Loki goes, 3 lizard people. And I saw the cartoon. If I didn't know from the comics that they were lizard men, lizard people, because one looked like a lady, had feminine features, I would not have gathered they were lizard, because there were no tails, there were no lizard faces, there were no scales. I didn't see any of that in the little clock lady's explanation of the whole shebang. Didn't see any of that. But Loki goes and says 3 lizard men. So I'm like, they didn't look like lizard, and I've watched the episode 5 times looking for when anybody else says lizard. Nobody else says lizard other than him that one time. But other than that, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I think it.
I'm so sorry.
So they show him in the cartoon, which I thought was great. You're talking about the timekeepers, right?
Yes, the timekeepers, the overlords.
Right, and then they're also, but they're like, to your point, they're different. It's a different face because the middle one kind of looks like Kang.
Yeah.
Those look like.
We can't do that.
Yeah, they do kind of look more cat-like than lizard-like, but I just moved on with my life and just kept enjoying the show. I didn't really.
I did, but no, I loved the whole thing. Like, I did. I enjoyed the whole thing, but I'm just saying that one was just like, wait, I heard him say lizard. Those were definitely not lizard people. They look like cat or puma people. They like from He-Man era. So
no, Thundercats. You're thinking Thundercats, not He-Man.
Okay, Thundercats. No, because He-Man's pet was like that little thing.
Blue thing.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name.
He was short, and he had the smush nose, and like a little cat, but he would say things every once in a while.
Would he say snarf? Would he say snarf?
Snarf! It was snarf!
Yeah, that's Thundercats.
No,
it's not He-Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right.
From my childhood, sorry.
I really liked it. I agree with you, Chip. I really liked it.
I liked it too.
I mean, it's going to be hard to beat the Netflix Daredevil, but but that's a much longer run. It's a different situation.
Oh yeah, those were considered street level heroes, and this is
much more. Yeah,
this is MCU heroes. This is the extended universe.
I liked some of the playing with predestination versus free will. There was just a lot of stuff that it just to me it was really well done.
I liked it a lot, but like overall, these 3 unknown beings decided, they picked a timeline and said everything else is blasphemy. Basically, let's be Christianity for a second. this one's the only good one, and everybody else is blasphemy. So we're just gonna, they're like what we talked about in our first episode. They're destroyed. They're wiping out, from what we can tell, the other timelines altogether. So they're completely destroying anything that they, in their own little heads, decide that that's not the right timeline.
There is multiple things on YouTube right now that people have just done talking about the timekeepers. Yeah. But and I got this from this. I did not get it from the comics because I never really read about the TVA before this. Was that the timekeepers were, there was a being at the end of the universe, right before the universe was destroyed, who made the timekeepers and sent them back to the beginning of time, and their only reason to be is to keep that being alive. So to make sure that the timeline that exists is the timeline where they exist. So yeah, their self-preservation, that's why they do it. And
he who remains is who you're talking about.
Okay, if that's it, there
that's
you
who
go.
It is. That's who I mentioned in the first one. That's who it is.
Okay.
Which, to your point, that may be what the hooded figure, which is probably female Loki, that may be some of her motivation for doing what she's doing. If they're going to do the same thing they did in WandaVision, where you think, oh, this person's good or this person's bad, and then the tables flip. So that may be some of her motivation.
Yeah, but you saw Loki have that full realization, like, I'm trapped. Everything that I thought was the most powerful thing that I've been trying to accumulate are nothing. Like, look at all of the Infinity Stones. They're just paperweights. They're all over the place. There's no power. And then he says, this is the ultimate power. And after he has that full circle, and then he's like, you know, I think that he's going to try to keep his mom from dying, because that was his emotional breakdown. That's what he ripped apart. He caused his mother's death. He caused all this trouble. He and his brother ended up bonding. Like that was an emotional moment for him. He had a lot of emotional moments.
He was watching some of the stuff with Thor for the first time, so he wouldn't have had a stronger connection. But to your point, he would have it with his mother.
Well, yeah. The thing is he said, he knows, like, he kind of admitted defeat because he knows now, he knows what his ultimate end was going to be. He's seen everything that's going to happen. So he basically, he did like a little, like, they took however many years of emotional development and compressed it down into like that little scene. But what he also realizes is there's all that'll happen. There's nothing I can do to change it. And as Mobius says, he goes, that happened because that is what is supposed to happen. And it will happen over and over and over because it's the right thing. So what he's going to do is he realizes that there's no place for him in the world anymore. So what he's going to do is he's just going to become like an agent of the TVA and work with Mobius, and that'll be the ongoing. And then that way they'll be able to put him into things further up in the MCU. He'll just show up as the time variant agent, that kind of thing.
Disagree. I totally disagree.
He's not going to go change and save his mom.
I don't know. I don't know if he will, but he's realizing that this agency has the power to do that. They could do that. He could literally pop in, steal his mom right before she's about to die, and do whatever. We don't know what he's going to do.
And then that would cause another variant.
It would. If he goes rogue. So if that Loki himself, because they said, it's you, Owen Wilson looks at him, Mobius said, it's you that we have to catch. That's you that we have to defeat. So does he mean you in a different timeline, like female Loki, or does he mean literally you later? Because you've had this realization that you could wield this ultimate power to your own benefit. Because that is fundamentally Loki, which we discussed in the first episode. Fundamentally, Loki is he wants to do things that benefit solely him. So I don't know. I don't know if that's where they're going to go with it. I think that it could also go in a completely different direction.
I think he knows that he's dead. I think he knows if he goes back, he's dead. I think he knows his
He's
mom's
not
dead.
going back.
Right. Well,
think
that's
that's
he
the
said you can't go back into the thing. You can't go back to. He even said, "I can't go back to my timeline," and Mobius said no. So, but I mean, so there's someone who is killing different agents, and that's who
stealing the little
thing trying to steal different
like time grenades or whatever.
Right.
But in stealing the time grenades kept them from blowing up that variant timeline. So
they were erasing the memory of people.
Yeah, they just
know that.
Yeah, do we know that?
Yeah, no, we know that. How do we
know that?
Because he was at an event,
and then they would leave. Sorry, go ahead.
He was at the first time we see Mobius, he's at an event where his people have been killed, and they have time on their side. They can keep going back. So once they kill, like, this agent or variant kills their people, they go, well, they never came back. They go there, they're like, oh, they're all dead. They pop the time, so they eradicate the timeline, but they go, well, crap, now he stole another one of those little time grenades. What are they doing? And he's jumping to other times. How is he doing that? Because they figure that he's jumping, and it could be that there's Lokis have somehow ended up in all of these variants, but it would make sense that he's somehow stolen from the first time he did this. They stole some ability to jump through time, and that's what they're using. Because that's even what the guy says. He goes, somebody found a time machine and came back to the past trying to make money, which is kind of like, you'll see, is like a motivating factor for people to, break time. So they can always fix it, because they can always go back and look at it. They just can't save the people that were necessarily killed, but they can always trim the branch.
Well,
I agree.
That's what when you watch the little clip where she was explaining, and the guy with the bow tie, I mean, that's what he was doing. And then they go and get him and put him on trial. The cartoon that was almost Sherman Peabody, that sort of look to it.
And they got Tara Strong to do the voice of Miss Minutes, which is awesome.
Oh yeah, I recognize her voice. But that's what I'm saying. So ultimately, they're severing that timeline, wiping those variant timelines out, so that way the true timeline maintains. So everybody that's in that variant timeline, all that alternate reality, they're all wiped out. They no longer exist because of that little bomb thing they drop, and they run off. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
No, like, so you're walking down the street and you see something in an alleyway that grabs your attention, and you walk down there, and that's a time variance. Yeah. So they do the little thing, but that doesn't kill you. It just removes you from where you turned. You're back walking down the street.
I'm not saying the creation of variants kill you. I'm saying the little purple thing they put down, they set off before they jump back into their time window back to go to the time agency, is what wipes out that variant timeline.
Right.
Right? So if that variant timeline is wiped out, those individuals that were in the variant timeline, even though the main timeline people are still there going on their course, of which that is, but you have to think alternate realities, the alternate universes, those people, like the Sarah that went straight instead of turning down the alley, is the Sarah that went straight is still alive, but the Sarah that turned down the alley no longer exists. That's what I'm saying.
She's saying Rick and Morty style, all the variants.
Because they're wiping out the variants, correct? Like, that's what they explained. They explained that the variants need to be wiped out and controlled because they don't want to have that time,
Right, but there is a multiverse in the Marvel universe, so all the TVA is able to control is so many of the multiverses around them. When you get further out, there's a million multiverses which they will not have dominion over. And if something goes so far out that it hits the red line, it becomes a timeline that can no longer be trimmed, and then it literally is another reality.
Yeah, but that's in the comic book. They didn't explain that in the series thus far.
But they do see the thing where he goes, well, look, it's almost to a red line. Yeah, so they made a comment about it.
The way I understood it was they were actually stopping anything that was getting into the main. God, I don't know why Siri wants to start talking to me now. I thought they were doing away.
So much.
I thought they were doing away with the timeline. The ones, to your point, that when they get to a certain point, they were in jeopardy of becoming into, the whatever they refer to it as, the, it's a nexus event.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's actually now in the timeline, in the real, the real timeline. I don't know what they're referring to it. I mean, that's what Wanda is. She actually has the ability she's one of the few creatures that has the ability.
She exists in multiple realities.
Yeah.
She's a constant.
Or Doctor Strange, I'm assuming, is also.
Well, there's always going to be a Supreme, which if they kind of spun that out, which was really bad, where they were like, well, there's a Sorcerer Supreme and there's a Scientist Supreme, which is Reed Richards, and there's an Engineer Supreme, which is Iron Man. I was like, oh, stop. That was so
it's like
bad.
the menu at Burger King.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, no. Let's just, Sorcerer Supreme sounds great. Engineer Supreme, Scientist Supreme. No, let's not do that.
Well, ultimately, they haven't explained to us what that little bomb does. So it could be wiping the memory of who's there, so they fall back into the normal timeline.
It does what a returning, like when they return, like, so if you see the thing where and an Infinity Stone is what breaks time. That's what they use to break time. So if you see like the thing in Endgame where the Ancient One shows the timeline and then the little black lines that come off, which are the alternates. So what that thing does is kind of the same thing that the time, like when you put the Infinity Stone back where it's supposed to be, that ceases to exist. Those are like little grenades that do the same thing, because they always have to pick up the Infinity Stone when they're doing it, because that's why they have like a drawer full of them back at the office.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
no, I totally get that, and that's kind of what I was saying. They're stopping that timeline,
right?
Because ultimately there was a catalyst event that splintered that timeline, so created that variant. So they came in with that little purple thing and stopped the variant from existing.
Right.
Yeah. So that way the only timeline is the main one.
But we definitely, before we go forward, we have to call out for Pillboy, who was Casey, the Eugene Cordillo. Did you guys ever see A Quiet Place, or not A Quiet Place, The Good Place with Kristen Bell?
Yes, you're talking about the administrative worker.
Yeah, Pillboy.
Hit a couple times. Yeah, he was great. He's a great comedian.
He was great. He was so funny in that. And as soon as I saw him, and like I've seen 2 or 3 people go, like they're like watching Loki and they just go, Pillboy.
Yeah.
So, and he was really good in it.
He's hilarious. He was a great line.
His desk. We talked about the Infinity Stones that were in it. Did you notice there was not a Mind Stone in it? There was no yellow stones in it.
Oh, I did not notice.
There were yellow stones in it.
You don't think so?
It's not.
I didn't see any green stones.
I saw a lot of green, a lot of the pink ones.
I'll have to look again. I thought there were yellow.
The baseball. That's a baseball card. That's like the most expensive baseball card in the world. In the world, it's a Hornus Wagner card.
Yeah,
I laughed out loud because it's just a pretty famous, ever collected baseball cards.
My favorite part was the comedian. What's his name again? Chip.
I'm off that screen. Hold on. Pillboy.
And he was like, he was like, "What's a fish?"
Yeah.
He's threatening to make me a fish. I don't even know what a fish is.
They're all they're all supposed to be clones. They're just they exist just to be the bureaucrats of the TVA.
Yeah.
But what I'm thinking they're going to do is some of them are going to turn out to be variants that ended up staying and working for the TVA. Because if he doesn't know what a fish is, you're not really going to have a very good investigator if they don't know what a fish is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then they keep talking about the girl that was the judge. She's named, and her name is the same name as a person who was Kang the Conqueror's girlfriend, and she ran Kang's city for a while. So they're definitely thinking Kang's going to get pulled into it at some point.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to be in the
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yep, exactly. And he kind of looks like Kang behind her. Of the three that are on there, the one in the middle.
One of them does sort of look like Kang. Yeah, I noticed that too.
Did you? It definitely had, especially with the bureaucracy. To me, had a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy vibe.
Yeah.
The bureaucracy of it is what made it. He's walking
through and he has his ticket, which actually the ticket thing goes all the way back to Green Acres. There is a Green Acres episode where he goes down to the local like courthouse or something, and he has
there's nobody there, but he has to go
in there and make him take a ticket, and he's like gets all worked up. So that bit has been used like for years, but yeah, I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I love that part. He's like, do you know who my father is? He's like, I don't need a ticket. He never gave me a ticket. And they zapped him. I loved it. But like
he quickly finds it.
Yeah, he's like,
and it was like the zappy wand from Ragnarok when they were on that one planet.
Right.
The boomstick.
The melt stick.
The melt stick. Yeah, it was exactly like that. So it was really cool.
Well, they compared the beginning of this movie to the beginning of Thor's arc in Ragnarok. And they are very similar to the way they change their look, give them like a little cartoon exposition of what's going on.
Well, and they're stripped of their powers.
Yeah, that whole thing.
No, I liked how they explained it for me, because ultimately my big hiccup with this whole thing is like, explain this to me. How did he get here? Where did he come out of? And what I love about where they pulled him out of, because it made so much sense in the realm in which they were, because everybody went back to get the Infinity Stones, which splintered into like that caused little variants, but those were variants that were supposed to happen according to the three special people. And he picked up the box, and it was just like shabam. That was just the perfect moment to pull him out of and not mess up any of the sequence events that have happened thus far. And I absolutely love that, because I was so worried about that. Like, that was my whole thing, because if they didn't fix that for me, it would have ruined the whole series for me. And that was just great.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the arc went really good. The way they pulled him out, and it's kind of funny that he got to escape, but he really didn't get to do anything with it, you know. And
it was like they popped into Mongolia, and they were like, "Who the heck are you?" He's like, "I am here to rule the world."
Yeah, I have all this knowledge, and they're like, "What? Who are you? What?"
He was trying to give his speech like he gave.
To Nick Fury when he showed up.
Yeah. But do you think that being around as long as he did, he would have been able to recognize the language and just speak it? You know, that kind of thing.
I have to say, though, I really thought I've always liked Owen Wilson, but I feel like the older he gets, the better he gets.
I agree.
He's really good in this, and I remember seeing him in the Royal Tenenbaums, and I don't like that movie.
Loved him in that.
He was the only good thing about that. Everybody else was
I don't know about that. I don't know. We could have a whole show just talking about the Royal Tenenbaums.
We will not. I will not be participating in any show that has anything to do with Wes Anderson.
I was going to say, so you don't like Wes Anderson at all?
No.
Oh, okay. I do. Yeah, see, that's the thing.
Yeah, I like the Royal Tenenbaums. The camping movie they did. What was that movie called?
That's actually one of my favorite ones.
I loved that one. The submarine
Life
one.
Aquatic. That's Life Aquatic.
Yeah, Life Aquatic.
Yes.
I can't think.
I saw Life Aquatic at the movie. I know, the only Bill Murray movie where you don't laugh because it's not freaking funny.
I laughed. It was funny to me. I liked it. It was weird. That's the kind of funny it was. It was weird, strange, funny.
I love weird, strange, funny. He's just not funny.
I liked it.
Yeah, you're either going to like that stuff or not. The other one's Hotel.
Budapest Hotel.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know the names of all of his movies for some strange reason.
I've seen Luke.
I guess to avoid them.
Luke Wilson here in Atlanta. I've seen him walking around in the park. Piedmont Park. I met him once in a restaurant. Yeah. That's my only my celebrity moment. That's all I got. We can move on, guys. It's okay.
All right.
Okay, so we did the beginning. We talked about the beginning, and then we talked about his emotional arc where he had those emotional moments and realized that ultimately the TVA is far more powerful than anything that he's encountered thus far in his life. So it completely squashed him because he imagined himself as being a super powerful being, and then he winds up in this place and he's like, wait, how can I capitalize on this moment?
I think he's so broken now he's not looking to capitalize on anything. He's just looking to stay alive.
See, I don't think that. I think that it clicked over for him. So now he's going to be like, okay, guys, what are we going to do? And ultimately, I think that he's going to become that masked figure. I think that's actually him.
I mean, you do have a point, because there's a scene where in the preview where he is like, he's with them and obviously working with them, and then he goes, boop, and he walks through the door, and they're like, oh crap.
Yeah.
So he could be, so all these other, like the Vote for Loki guy and those all could be like he kind of goes off and starts his own thing with the variants. That's absolutely valid theory.
And what I'm thinking is that he will ultimately be the mastermind for the variants, because he'll be able to pop in those variant timelines, organize his other selves in order to take ultimate power of this, because he'll be able to relate to that variant, that alternate self.
But he admitted that he doesn't like to cause people pain. He doesn't like to do these things. It's just what's expected of him. So therefore, he's not just going to turn on that and become like super evil. I think because
that's ultimately what Owen Williams wanted him to say. He wanted to appeal to Owen Williams. Owen Williams is sitting there going, Owen Wilson is ultimately going, do you like to hurt people? Why do you hurt people? He's sitting there going, I am the prison psychologist going, do you deserve redemption? Do you deserve to be a part of my organization? Are you going to be a good soldier for me? And so he's trying to appeal to him in the way that he understands, in a way that he can control him. See, Loki is the ultimate trickster.
I don't agree. Yes, he is, but I don't think he is now. I think that the whole redemption arc and the whole thing, and the trying to make him an anti-hero, he can't stay that way and be a sympathetic character. If he goes and becomes evil again and becomes mean again and is doing all these things, then they wouldn't make this show.
But your assumption is the TVA is good. Your assumption is because if Loki is evil and he's turning good and he's cooperating with the TVA, that would make the TVA good. And in my mind, the TVA isn't good. I got bad feelings about the TVA. Why would somebody go and destroy all these other variant timelines that they don't deem good? Who are they to decide what's good and what's not good?
They have the power to determine what's good. So
just because you have the power doesn't mean that
might make right.
They bring order to chaos. And without it, you're bringing order to chaos.
So they say. Prove it to me that they are good, because right now I'm doubting their reasons for doing this, because it seems like they're just destroying all these alternates.
I don't think we have enough information either. Well, and I also think that they're already kind of setting up Mobius to be a character who is more redemptive. How nice he is to the girl in when they see her, just the way he's done, the way he's talking to him. I think, and if that's his job, if he sees his job in a redemptive fashion, hey, these are timelines that would bring chaos or would disrupt the galaxy, and we're helping to pull these in. Now, he may be wrong. I mean, the organization may have more behind it that he doesn't know, and so he's a pawn, all that kind of stuff. But
I disagree to that, because I think he's going to end up being a double agent. I think he's playing and manipulating the field in which he's in, the way that he goes to the judge and be like, hey man, I respect you, you're above me, I'm placating you so that way I can get this guy in.
I thought that he did that because there's more to the backstory with them. I took that as more to the backstory with them.
Well, I'm interested to see because I can see this going two different ways. The way you guys think it's going to go, and I think it could go a completely different way. And what would be even crazier is if that bad guy wasn't Loki at all, and it was Owen Wilson's character. Because if Owen Wilson is going, it was pulled in out of a variant. Like if he was a variant, let's go. If he was a variant, he was pulled in, and now he's seeing like this is crazy. Like I should have been able to live my life in the timeline that was variant, but then you pulled me in. That's the realization I think that Loki had is he's like, you know, I should have been able to do that because ultimately that Loki that did all those things is not me because I don't have those memories. And he even said that. I don't have those memories yet. So I think it could go one of a couple of ways, which is why I'm excited to see where they go with it. So I think there's too many, we're going to say variants, to decide which direction that the writers are going to take this because it could go one of a couple of different ways.
You need to switch your mic. I think your mic went back to the mic on
camera. Yeah, it did.
Because it's and then it's distorting a little. It's the sacred timeline.
Yeah.
That's actually what they call it. It's the sacred timeline. Chip,
you're very invested, though. I have to give you that. You're wholeheartedly into it.
So what was your favorite part, Sarah?
Now you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
We got you.
Okay. So, do you want to ask me again, or you want me to just go?
Just go, so I can cut from that.
Okay. So I don't think I had specifically a favorite part. I think that this first episode gave me a lot of questions. It gave me a lot of ideas as to where the writers could take this, as to where the character of Loki is, the character of Mobius is, Owen Wilson's character, and like I'm just not sure where they're going to take it. And I think that's what I find most exciting about it. So I don't have a particular moment that I find super exciting. I like the action sequences in it. There's a couple in there. I like the power and control that Loki realizes is here versus wherever he's from, you know, the variant timeline. So I think it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. And that's what I'm most excited about. I'm invested.
Chip, how about you?
I like the arc. I like when he gets, well, first off, I like the whole fight thing with the timekeeper where he puts the thing and then he's like going like this and just making her go back and forth. I thought that was pretty good. And then I liked him, the whole redemptive arc where he watches everything and sees himself die. And it reminded me, because every time I've seen it, it's just crazy. I saw something and it was like an old animated, it was an anime, I think, of this, they were creatures, and one of them, it was a rat, and the guy was like squeezing the rat to death. And I swear the Loki, when he's being held by Thanos, he's like a little, like a caught rat or rodent fighting. And then, you know, when they don't focus on the film, but when they show like Loki's face and his reaction to hearing his own neck crack, I was like, wow, that was actually mine.
Yeah. I was going to say that was I thought that was where some of the other when they were going through some of that, I was like, yeah. I mean, I like some of it, but some of it I thought it was almost a bit too much. But then when he did that, his reaction.
Yeah, I mean, to focus on his face when that happened was good.
The collar
filmmaking.
And I thought about the collar that he was wearing. It reminded me of the one that Thor put on Loki to take his powers away. In which it wasn't Thor who put it on. He gets one strapped on.
Yeah, when they catch him the first time, the first one.
Yeah. Oh,
First
I think
floor.
that's what he's in when they're walking him through the thing, and when he's
Yeah.
and then he gets the opening scene where he's in the desert, kind of, which is a throwback to the Iron Man first.
Yes. Yeah,
That scene. I thought that was really good too.
I thought that was a little too on the nose. I didn't really need that, but
Yeah.
It's good for like somebody coming in cold, maybe haven't seen all the movies, you know.
I like the fact there was a scroll in it.
That was a scroll in a tracksuit.
Yeah,
and they showed, like in one of the things I watched, they showed, they go, this could be the guy from in Miss Marvel there, or no, in Captain Marvel, there's a scene where they're on the ship and all the scrolls come out. And there's one in a tracksuit like that, and they're like, he probably grabbed the Tesseract.
Oh, and
did
that's
something,
why,
and they snagged him.
that's why he's. Oh, interesting. I didn't.
Because the Tesseract was on that ship.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool. That'd be a cool variant. I liked the basically the Jetsons world they walked past, and they had a pause moment there. Like, I thought there was no magic here. It's not magic. It must be technology, I guess.
Which is kind of the thing that Thor did to Jane when he was explaining.
Yeah, it was kind of like the flip of that. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But like I said in reading on about it, the woman, the designer or the director, whatever, she said that the aesthetic of the TVA world was a mix between the Teletubbies and Blade Runner, and I could totally see that, like the way the computers all look and everything's tubed and very analog looking and very round, but everything, the color, it's very dark and muted. And it also had that kind of, did you ever see the movie Seven? Have you ever seen Seven?
Yeah, I've seen.
You know how in Seven there's no bright light? Even, I mean, like up until they go out and find the box, that's in daylight, but everything else is in this horrible yellowed light or this like really filtered cloudy darkness. And that's kind of the same kind of feel you get into TVA. Everything is like that old 70s yellow fluorescent or tube lit or whatever.
It's like that space station light that we get from all those other series. It's like you're encapsulated. You're not in a real world. You're in a manufactured.
Like the original series of Star Trek, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah. And very much a lot of that stuff felt like kind of like some of the stuff from the first series of Star Trek, you know, the technology, which I thought was great. I love that kind of stuff. Like I've watched movies, like I watched freaking Her, which was terrible. But I watched that just to see how they handled the technology through the whole movie. And I thought that aspect of it was great. And I thought that aspect of Loki was great. And I can't wait to see them do more of that.
Do you think
I'm excited for what they can
do? Him walking, you know how they made him walk through the scanner, you know.
Oh, but that was great when he's like, well, what if I am a robot? I don't know. I mean, and that was like all they were jokingly called it, does Loki dream of electric sheep? Because they're like, you know, he was like concerned that he was an android.
Well, I think there's anything to that's what they're checking for, that people, you know, that there's actual you know, Ultron, or is that?
They're life model decoys. Because life model decoys, remember, they get from Shield in the comic books. Those things all the time become self-aware and go off and do crazy stuff. So they're like, hey,
like that could have been a thing. Like if they didn't have him walk through and say, "No, I'm not an android." Like me as a viewer, I go, "Did they copy him in and put him in like an android body? Or like how did this happen? You know, is this real?" Yeah, so I like that explanation. I appreciated that as a viewer.
Well, I just love the doubt.
Yeah.
Could I be a robot? Maybe I am. And then I love
the annoyance. So the guy was like, "Okay, you're just not going."
Yeah, just go. Yeah, I got other things
you
to
would
do.
have been melted by now. It's fine.
Is that the room that had the cat, or maybe?
No, that was the guy who was everything you've said.
It was like TSA.
Too. That's right.
It was like, take off your shoes, put him in the bucket, walk through the thing. Yeah, TSA.
But the guy with the cat, there's already been people going, is that actually a cat or is it a flirkin?
That's what I say. Yeah.
Oh.
Cats usually, and
that would be cool.
Cats aren't usually cats in the MCU.
Yeah.
So
why can't they be Why aren't cats just flirkins? Like, why aren't they Like, how
Because
do we know?
Flurkins have a pocket universe inside of them.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying.
Oh.
How do we know our cats aren't?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, my cat vomits stuff up that could have come from another universe. Like,
yeah,
I'm like,
maybe it's overflowing pollution and it just has to get it out.
That I may have 2 Flurkins
Cats
in
throw
my house
up
and
all
not
the
even known it.
time.
What do you know? Yeah. Most of the time it's just their food because they're fat little shits and they eat way, way too fast. But sometimes it's a little bizarre. So
food or hair.
Furballs.
That's the one.
And furballs. Buzzballs.
Yeah. Very
All right,
true.
well, I think we're pretty unanimous, and we're excited. I mean, it definitely has the potential. I mean, I've been excited for all 3,
Yeah.
and I didn't mind the others, but I wasn't floored by them.
no, I was that. This is, like I said, this is the best start we've had yet.
Yeah, the other ones, yeah, and they didn't have to recut or reshoot probably.
Well, they cut. They said
there may be some stuff.
They cut. They had to stop filming because of COVID. So maybe. I don't know.
Right. They didn't have. It wasn't like the others. Well, in a month from now, we'll have
all of it.
Well, no. What's the next one? After this is What If, and it's animated.
I mean, in a month, well, that's when Black Widow comes out.
Right.
Ooh.
Comes out July 9th.
I may actually go to the movies.
Or you can stay home and watch it on Disney Plus because it's the last. Because I think it's the last. I think the other ones.
Everything they made a commitment to, they can't back out of it. They've already tried.
It's on. It's going to be on Disney Plus.
Oh no, I was thinking HBO Max something, because they were trying to say, oh, we're going to just put Dune in theaters, and they're like, no, you've made an agreement, you can't back out.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
But this will probably be the last Disney MCU that they put out.
There we go. We left off at Pillboy.
Sorry.
All right.